Yeah.
Thanks, Mana, for making me look bad again.
Thanks, Mana, for making me look good again.
So, we're actually seeing the same build from Mana, exactly the same. Talking a bit about the scouting problem there is in the game. There's two ways for the Zerg to scout. You can use all these overseers, which are a bit slower and cost a lot of gas, and most times you lose them when you're scouting. But I actually like going for an early overload speed instead, because it's going to give you so much vision on the map. You can send it into the base and just make it run through it. And if you lose it, it's not a big deal. It's much more of a big deal than you using an overseer, losing it. Maybe has to rebuild if it's going to do DTs, or if you want to go into use Contaminate again. And as we saw, Ciara using the Contaminate on the Robotics Bay, delaying the thermal lance of the Protoss player. I don't think that's the right decision either. I would have used it on the robotics facility, delaying the Colossi, even though that, because he's only using the robotics base for one thing, and that is getting the thermal lance. It's not really delaying anything in the long term.
And once again, we have Mutalisks.
The Mutalisk, yeah, but they're not going to do that well again on this map. As we talked about before, Mana really made a good choice, making all his three bases close together, so he can easily maneuver around with his Stalkers. And the same thing here, he has three bases so close together, and it's just not going to work as well here.
Yeah, and one problem that you definitely have is that you don't have a lot of dead space around the bases, so you can't actually hide with your Mutalisk. And you are vulnerable to a Blink Stalkers, you are vulnerable to any kind of anti-air unit that the Protoss player throws against you. So he's trying to pick off some probes nonetheless, and is being very, very good at doing so. Kills another 4. In the meantime, we have a small army assembling at the right side of the main of the bases of the Protoss player, and Mana has to be careful not to commit too much on defend, not to commit too many units to defend against those Mutalisks, because Ciara will use that in order to attack his third base. But Mana isn't stupid. He already placed down 2 cannons and is going for another pylon, so he's kind of walling off, and I suppose we'll see some gateways later on for him as well in order to wall off against potential attacks of the Zerg player. And what I really love about Mana is that he's once again going for the Storm. Darren Amulet is not anymore available to the Protoss, but he's still opting for the Storm, and I like it. I like it a lot, especially against Zerg.
I really do, and it's so good because the Storm is still such a great spell and does so much damage. The Kadaran Amulet was primarily being used for defensive purposes, and of course they're not as good in the defense right now, because you can't really defend anything as you could before. But I still really much like going for the Storm here. They do so much damage all the time. Mana.
That's not enough Stalkers to deal with those Mutalisks, but now he could blink again. Yes, he's blinking and trying to snipe off another Mutalisk.
But Ciara is going to attack the third at the same time. There is 2 cannons in place, but Mana is a bit out of position. Now he has a few Colossi there and some Stalkers and a lot of force shields. But and keeping the 2 Void Rays alive is a huge deal right now, because he's not just going to town on the Colossi. So he's actually making it really, really hard for Ciara to do any sort of harass. I think Ciara should opt to go for another base. I think he should get a 5th base on, so he can replenish a lot faster, because right now Mana is just staying bad in space, and he's just afraid of these Mutalisks, because he doesn't really know how many he makes.
But he really defended very, very well against his opponent. He defended against the Mutalisk here, he defended against the Roach Hydra push. And I love the play by Mana. At the moment, he's all over the place, and he's just trying to get his army as strong as possible. He has 2,000 minerals and 1,000 gas. He should definitely get more units. He's supply blocked right now, researching the +3 attack upgrade and warping in 4 additional warp gates. I would actually have loved to see the warp gates right there in order to block against a potential attack of his opponent. But a Protoss army on 200 supply is just so hard to beat if you're a Zerg player. So Ciara will have to get a good economy up and going in order to get enough resources to replenish his army as soon as possible when the fight's over. And he already has a 4th base, as Bumblebee mentioned. We see Storm being upgraded, more Immortals, another base for the Protoss player as well, taking a 4th and going for 6 additional gateways, just warping in a lot of units. And as we can see, we have 42 Roaches, 30 Stalkers, and blinking.
He's picking off some Stalkers there, which is really good for the fight. He makes Mana uses a lot of his scanner and money to get up to the 200, picking off a few units here and there. It's really good. And now we're coming back to what you said about walling off with the gateways here. He's not doing that, so Ciara's gonna have a lot easier way in here, but he's just blinking after him and so confident in taking this fight. But Ciara is still retreating here with his Overlords, his Corruptors and his Roaches. There's not much he can do. But with the Forces, they're actually blocking himself, but the Colossi are nullifying them as they're being massive units. But Ciara still has to go back. The Colossi and the Immortals are just dealing so much damage to all these Roaches. I don't know what Ciara can do here. If he doesn't replenish, he can't retreat because of the blink, yeah. But I don't know what he can do from here. Is he gonna replenish fast enough? Is Mana just gonna stay back? Is he gonna attack? What are we gonna see? I really would like if Mana would take the Observer with him, go deny some of the creep, force him to use a lot of the Overlords to make a creep highway, so you can use the Hydras and all the others in a better way and be able to retreat and kite a lot more.
I actually have to say that I love the play by Mana, because if he doesn't focus on Colossi too much, I mean, have a look at the production tab. We have a lot of Corruptors being produced. There are 15 out, but there are only, I mean, have a look at that. That's only 2 Colossi, and Mana is going,
the same mistake again.
Mana is going for Stalkers, and he's going for Colossi. Of course, we see the Great Aspire being finished right now, so he will have Broodlords, but with all those gateways, that's a ton of gateways for Mana. Have a look at that. There's 1 gateway, we have 2 over there, a third one, and all those gateways will be able to get Stalkers into the match. Though that's fast, so Mana will be able just to go for a lot of Blink Stalkers, and they are very, very good, especially with the additional Storm against Broodlords when they blink in and against the Roaches. So I really like that, the combination between Immortals and all those Stalkers. And here come the Storms immediately. We have all those Corruptors, no Broodlords yet. Amazing play by Mana, perfect timing, annihilating the whole army, taking out Corruptor after Corruptor right now. And he's on the move on 195 supply against 160. Mana in the perfect position with a perfect unit composition. It's just moving in. Where are the Broodlords? Oh, right there they are, just being mobbed, and he's blinking in, taking out everything. All those Immortals annihilating the Roaches, basically bashing them into face. We have the Archons as well, and a beautiful play by Mana, and the perfect timing for this annihilating attack.
It's so good, and Ciara timing a hard matchup, which is totally correct. But it was so well played by both players. The mistake I think Ciara did in this game.
And Mana takes the series 2-1.
He does.
And yeah, therefore advances to the round of 16.
He does, and that's very good by Mana, normally struggling in this matchup. So I'm very happy for him, and I'm very proud of him for doing this, and practice pays off.